Welcome to our discussion. My name is Elaine Niu, and I'm the soprano soloist of this world premiere project 2021. The project includes two song cycles, the part by John Hennecken and the flower theme by Hsinying Lin. Today, we will discuss with three musicians who play the important parts of this project. We will discuss the mind of a musician, and we'll talk about the process of creation to realization. We will let our guests to introduce themselves. Hsinying.
Hi, I'm Hsinying Lin, and I'm a composer. Yeah.
So Elaine, would you like to go first, or John?
I'll go if that's okay. Hi, Elaine Moss. I did my best to play the piano parts and do them justice. So, and working with Elaine is always a special treasure. So,
thank you, Elaine. John.
Well, I'm John Hennecken, and I wrote 5 songs for Elon and Elaine.
Great. Okay, so we do have like 3 questions that we're going to ask you guys, and the first is, what motivated you to create and to perform this song cycle as a performer and as a composer? Hsinying.
Yes, I started my process of text researching after receiving Elaine's invitation of writing this song cycle. I thought that I would certainly use the lyrics from the Chinese literature, since this song cycle would be presented in the United States. I asked my colleague who specialized in Chinese literature, and he especially recommended the contemporary poet Yu Jialuo, who had presented a lecture at my school in the past. After reading through his book, The Fake Journalist, I found myself deeply captured by these words that were simple yet powerful. I decided to transform the words into musical notes. I chose 3 out of 16 points from this collection title. The flower theme, for example, the Chinese spring tree, was chosen because of my visit to the floral festival in spring. I was mesmerized by the white flowers of the Chinese spring trees. They were extremely beautiful. Even since the visit, I started going back to the festival when the season comes. I was also moved by Mr. Luo's vivid description of the flowers. I was able to connect my experience and his words of those flowers. Therefore, I selected these 3 points as the text of these songs. Yes.
Thank you so much, Hsinying. And John, your pieces are longer, a lot longer.
Well, yeah. So the conception for this song cycle goes back, I think, at least 3 years to when we had first began discussing it. And my initial idea was just I wanted to write some songs for Elon to sing. And so from there, when I think about the songs that I like most, I think I was drawn to the French art song tradition, some of which I think are really incredible. And so I searched for the right poetry. I think I spent months looking for the ones that I thought told the story that I wanted to tell. And that's how we wound up with the songs we have. So here we are.
By the way, it was brilliant work, just so you know. Lane, you and I. So what motivated us to create this, to realize this music?
you.
I'm your motivation.
You're my muse.
You're my muse. Well, I find it very amusing because.
I mean, you have been wonderful to go on so many adventures with, and I would do anything for you. So, and I think I did.
You did.
It was a great adventure, and just collaboration is my passion. Working with someone rather than doing solo work, and that's the reason. It was great to perform this music with you. It was wonderful.
Thank you so much, Elaine. And just so I'm speaking for both of us. We actually rehearsed a lot. Because of those two pieces, and they were challenging in a very interesting way. So for example, in John's pieces, I have to say, like I became super humble after after I started practicing his pieces, because like obviously so we wanted to work together. So, and he had his he has my vocal quality in mind. So when he composed those pieces, so in a way it's like I know those pieces will fit me, but at the same time the challenge actually came like outside the vocal range, right? So it's more like, okay, so what is behind those songs, because those are very thoughtful poems. So he speaks he spent like months to search for, and for us it's just to be able to realize what's the his beautiful brain behind those pieces. I think that just that really made us super humble. And also with Lin's pieces, and I think Elaine can speak for us, because we often had so many discussions to even talk about the text, right, Elaine?
Yes, yes.
So remember, like in our conversation, because one of the song was about reincarnation, which was not popularly understood in the United States, although right now it's a lot more popular. So yeah, so we just talked about like your text like so deeply, like after the rehearsal, because we always have like like short rehearsals. Okay, so anyway, so thank you so much. Okay, so the second question is, how much time did you spend and how much work did you put in those pieces as a composer and as a performer? Hsinying.
Yeah. I spent 2 months or so just in reading these poems, and then finished the complete collection of the poems and carefully select 3. I started to look into recite these words and play the piano. I want to know with what style I could express the music. In addition to using music to represent the flowers, I thought about what the poet wanted to express emotionally. It took me a month and a half to finish composing 3 pieces.
Thank you, Hsinying. John.
Oh, I was searching for the poetry, as I said before, kind of through the summer of 2018, really, I think, and finally came to some conclusions and began to write the first song to part in, I think, towards the end of January, early February 2019. And then it was kind of a song per month from that point on. And so I think by the last song was completed in June of 2019. So it was a several month process. And then, of course, then it took us a year longer to record the song. So it's been quite a long time.
Yeah, well, just to to interrupt for a second, this project was supposed to be presented, last year in 2020 in March, but unfortunately, pandemic happened, so we were not able to perform in public. We had to cancel our performances. At that time, actually, we were ready to go. Like we thought we were ready to go. So and so we were kind of disappointed. And actually, Elaine and I, we discovered something that's kind of interesting. Remember, Elaine, we were talking about, so now we have 1 more year to actually prepare for those pieces. So what do we think?
Well, I think the universe worked in our favor because there was a solidity to it that I think we may have scrambled for a bit more in 2019. So I mean, it's all strange how that goes, but I don't know. And I hope John feels that way too. I really feel like they came together this past year. So, and like I was telling John, I feel like we could go out now and do the whole cycle.
Yeah, at the end of the recording sessions, it felt like things were really gelling so much. It was like,
Yeah.
let's have a concert.
So I guess we shouldn't question how these things go, but it worked in everyone's favor, I think. I don't know.
Yeah, actually, that was really interesting because, we thought we were ready, right, Elaine?
Yeah.
Then, yeah, and after 9 months of just, let it sit in our body and keep reviewing the text, and I think those words really mean so much to us now. So it's like, it's saturating in our brain and cells and, so now we're living.
Yeah, I think you're right. The last 2 or 3 months, it just felt like it became innate. Is that the right way to put it?
Oh, innate. Does that mean the fire comes after the innate?
Well, I don't know. It's sort of like what you said. It's in our cells. It's in our DNA. I don't know.
Oh, wow. So after this 9 months of COVID, and we were able to lock ourselves up because we were not able to travel and do anything else. So all we did was practice like crazy and think about the music like crazy.
Well, that's interesting. You say 9 months. So it took 9 months, and we finally gave birth
Exactly.
to the music. I say that for you, John, right?
So just for the audience, like who don't know this great news, John and his wife are going to have a baby girl. So we're all very, very excited for him. John, sorry, this will last forever. Just so you know. So that's really good. Oh, thank you so much. Okay, so the last question is kind of hard. What kind of challenges do we have as we created and perform these pieces as composer and as performers? Hsinying.
Yeah. The biggest challenge is setting music on an existing text. Figuring out the relationship between the intonation from the language and the pitches of the music is a challenge. There are 5 intonations in Chinese. Therefore, as a composer in the creative process, I sometimes need to compromise by letting go of the music and focusing on the articulation of the text. The meaningful of the words could be different based on the ascending and the descending intonations. Therefore, there is always a chance that the words become confusing to the listeners if the texts are not articulated clearly. The second challenge that I have experienced would be making sure if my music had accurately matched the point's intention. I once wanted to connect the point Mr. Ro to reassure the meanings of those points. Then I learned that what Mr. Ro wrote could be about any kind of emotions, idea, expression, or a reflection at any moment. As readers, we no longer need to demand a certain answer because they were all made in the past. Just like Mr. Law creating his words, I created music which contains various notes, pitches, and tempos. They might carry some meanings or no meanings at all. Therefore, I would like to see the performers express themselves, their personal text in my music. I want to learn how they feel by performing my pieces. Ultimately, whatever is delivered in the music through the words becomes my understanding of the text, and there is no need to check the accuracy of the point's intention.
Thank you, Hsinying. John, okay, now you probably can feel it because remember at the beginning of our process, we had to really understand, how the text will work with the music, and we were actually working with a French professor, a visiting professor. Do you remember that time?
Yes. I think that's a great jumping off point, though, from what Hsinying just said about the way the text is. It is what it is. I mean, especially these texts were written a very long time ago, and I think they mean something different to me than perhaps they would mean to the poets who wrote them. And I think that's the beauty of the poetry, and that it's a timeless sort of thing. It means something now, a long time after it was written, and it's still very powerful, and allows for great art to be even made much 100 years later. So I guess, but as far as the challenges go, certainly as not being a French speaker, that was a great challenge. So how to set the text in a way that it's going to feel good to sing was one of the greatest challenges. But of course, another challenge was, of course, writing to the level of the performers and writing something that was worthy of the performers, you and Elaine. And so, I wanted to write songs that would make an audience say, wow, how did she do that? Was my goal. And especially in perhaps the second and the fourth songs of the cycle, where some of the more virtuosic of the five, I really wanted to do something that would show off your ability while telling this story. So but yeah, so and then of course this is the French art song tradition is one that can be intimidating to approach as well. So because these are there are songs that are so beautiful, and there are some that I wouldn't that have been set in such a way that I like them too much. I wouldn't go near those texts. So, and so but I was able to find something that I thought told a good story for me. And so we start with the initial song, Depart, which, I love the way it ends. It's this search for a new sound. The poet is clearly sounding to me bored. In other words, there's this like, I enough. I need something new. And so it's and that really sets the song cycle in motion with the search for something new creatively and the search for a new sound. And then in the second song, you have this idea of obsession. So it's a continued obsession with that idea. It's a little bit more fiery and enraged almost. And then you have the Song of Autumn, the third song, which is a bit sadder in tone. And then we have that ecstatic sound of the fourth song that I was going for in Elevation, which I think is the most virtuosic of the four songs and really allows you to show off your powers, as the text would suggest. And then finally, the fifth song, that's kind of settling back down and coming full circle into just writing something beautiful that and reflective of everything that's come to that point. So.
Thank you, John. That's really good. Actually, just to bring up one question, John and I talked last night about today's discussion, and one thing that he came up, I thought it was quite interesting is, so this is about Hsinying's song cycle. So obviously, Hsinying, you have so you picked 3 poems out of 18, right? So why those 3? So Hsinying 就是说你那个曲子
为什么要选这3首？
为什么选这3首呀？
为什么选这3首？应该还是他的歌词，他的诗词，就是第一个是水仙，因为这个植物我有看过，流苏我也是有看过的，就是看过他的实体，然后再根据他所写出来的东西，有触动到我的心，所以我就选了这3首，而且我觉得这3首的诗。对于把它转换成音乐是，不知道有一种感觉，就是很容易对我来讲，这些诗给我的感觉，对
，Good. Okay, so she mentioned that the reason that those 3 pieces were picked out of the 18 poems mainly was because she actually physically saw those 3 kinds of flowers. Okay, so for example, the narcissus, that's a very common flower, right? And the Chinese fringe tree, that's another one. So those are the common plants that we see over the place, right? So in order to write some real music, you have to be physically moved by the music and understand the physicality of the music. So she felt like because she emotionally could relate and physically, visually saw those plants. So she find it easy to create music based on those poems. Elaine,
well, no, I was thinking, when we were working on them, because I do not know Chinese, but I will say this: I'm inspired to learn it by working on this music. I mean, the poetry was so beautiful, but the words, and you and I worked, I think, a lot on where the inflection is with the piano and everything. And that was a fascinating process. Yeah. I mean, I know French, so that was easier for my brain.
Yeah, well, I have to say though, yeah, I totally agree with Elaine. Is so even though the Chinese is my is my native language, and I do know French as well, it's again, this is like another level of understanding. Let's say for John's pieces, and John's pieces are really, really complex when it comes to practicing. So it's like, when you practice, not only mentally you have to understand it, and physically and vocally you have to be able to take the impact as well. So I thought that was a really good training for us to really dive in and just to see how much you can push, like vocally and physically, right, Elaine?
Yes.
Yeah, like when it comes to like the accompaniment, it's not the easiest accompaniment that we've ever practiced in the past. And so it's like going to the gym, like so let's say so we should put it this way, okay? So correct me if I'm wrong, Elaine. It's like so in order to perform those pieces, you really have to flex different muscles, right?
Yes.
So different muscles.
You're not going to go do the Olympics without training.
Exactly.
And this was more for me, this was brain training. I mean, I'm going to be brutally honest. I am not a 21st century music performer, but it was interesting because yes, after a certain amount of time, I felt like we could go the course, go the distance, I guess. So.
Well, Elaine, I'll correct you and say you are a 21st century performer.
Oh, you're kind.
And but I write my piano part. It's very much as you know, it's part of the music, and it's
of course
evoking the music, and it's a part in itself. It's not just an accompaniment. And,
for sure. Absolutely.
And I try to give you some nice solo moments as well.
Yes, you did. Thank you. Well, I think singers have the best of both worlds, text and music. So I'm nothing but a wannabe singer anyway. So.
Well, that's very interesting because I thought the opposite. I wanted to be a pianist. Oh my gosh, if I can play half of like, the way that you play, I'll be like die in heaven. No problem.
Excellent.
So anyway, actually, we just finished all our questions, and we have 4 minutes left. Is there anything that you want to share regarding to this project with our audience?
I would like to say thank you. I can't imagine the amount of work that went into this for both of you, but it was an amazing, incredible, sometimes a hard learning process. But I can only say we hope you're happy with what happened with it. And but thank you very much for your work and allowing us to perform your beautiful music.
Yeah.
Well, thank you both. It's always just a composer just has to consider themselves lucky to have their music performed by players who really want to play the music, and it's just like a very good fortune.
Well, we thank you for the ride.
Well, the ride is great. I don't even want to take off. I just want to stay on the ride forever. Okay, so Hsinying, do you have anything that you want to share with us? 有什么新的想法？
OK， 就是我谢谢你们两位，就是可以把作品这样子唱得非常的好，然后就是我自己写的时候所想象的，那跟你们表演出来的非常的接近。然后让我很压抑，因为我们没有什么讨论，我们只有写速度，然后你们就根据上面的一些表情记号，然后整个表演的方式让我觉得，就是我自己所想象的，所以我觉得我很喜欢这样子。非常谢谢你们。
Okay, I gotta translate this because I can't cry because I have makeup on. I'm gonna look like hell if did I just say the word hell? Okay, if I cry. But I'm super moved. Okay, so what Hsinying mentioned is that she said she did mention that because our locations are totally the opposite, right, and our time differences, so we are not able to communicate quite often as we wanted to. So she was amazed at how closely that we were able to perform, just like she thought we would. And so basically the realization part was done. And I hope John feels the same way. Anyway, so our time is up. Thank you so much. And so let's hope we can collaborate next time.
Yes. Thank you.